Hey, so before this video even gets started, did you know that most of y'all not even subscribed?
I don't give a fuck.
So, what are y'all doing? Subscribe. If y'all don't subscribe right now, y'all gotta be gay. Whoa, look, ain't nothing wrong with being gay, okay? I like the gays. Wait, pause.
A workaholic woman decides to give her husband a robotic companion to satisfy his needs.
Oh, hell nah. See, look, this that shit. Nigga, I don't go fuck how bad my wife is the breadwinner in a relationship, nor the fact that she's a workaholic. Bitch, you up here sending a bitch through like she up here doing the coffin challenge. Y'all remember that?
Put him in a coffin.
Man, look, all I'm saying is this. I be damned trying to fuck with a robot. This is not Detroit Become Human. I'm not playing this shit on the PS4. This is real life.
However, this decision might destroy not only their marriage, but also their lives. At the district courthouse, Megan Newman watches an automated piano play. Her defense attorney, Peggy, arrives, telling her client that the prosecution just added 2 more witnesses to the case, so they need to discuss their strategy before they begin. Months ago, Megan's friends held a toast to her achievement in closing the biggest deal of her career. As a producer for the music company Cascadia, she managed to finally convince legendary musician Ari Phillips to give them the rights to his songs to produce a modernized album by using AI technology. Megan thanked her right-hand man and AI prompter Vince for helping her close the deal. She also made a speech about how AI wasn't destroying the music industry, but was helping improve it. The others agree, though Megan's husband John stayed quiet through the celebrations.
Oh, hell nah. Why is he smirking like that? This man look like he ready to invite everybody to their doom. On some jigsaw shit, talking about some, you wanna play a game? Let's play a game.
Robotic waiter then approached to offer them dessert, and Megan thanked it. Rachel then shared how she still found it baffling how Cascadia was able to produce good music using AI, when most could only produce awful ones. Vince explained that it was because Cascadia hired actual musicians like him to prompt the system, allowing them to use their understanding of music to guide the technology. Megan added that musicians make the best prompters while directing her attention to John. Knowing what was on her mind, her husband refused. Vince lamented that John refused to be a prompter since he believed AI-produced music was soul-crushing. John added that he found it ridiculous that Vince was guiding technology that virtually replaced him as a musician. In contrast, John was now proud to be a gardener. Megan joked that she never would have guessed that a star musician like her husband would ultimately become a farmer, and John just reminded her that they've had a good life. However, he would have preferred it if they had a kid. Megan awkwardly laughed at this, brushing it off. As the couple were taken home by their self-driving car, Megan confronted her husband about bringing up the topic of kids in front of their friends. John apologized, but he insisted that having one would make their home complete. Megan reminded him that they'd agreed on having one next year after she'd finalized her deal. She wanted to ensure that her career was steady before taking a leave to start a family. John assured her that she wouldn't need to take a leave, promising that he'd be a full-time dad. Still, Megan asserted that they'd have a kid next year instead. That night, John found his wife still working in bed. He tried to initiate some intimacy, but she was too tired from work to fulfill his desires. Quickly, John gave up, and seeing his sour mood, Megan offered to let him do what he wanted with her.
Oh, hell nah. See, look, bad enough you shitted on my image of us having a family. Now you up here talking about some damn, I'm not in the mood, but you can do whatever you want to me. Bitch! You know what? Say that. I'm gonna be outside then. I'm gonna be outside.
Fuck your life. Bing bang.
I'm gonna get turned. I'm gonna get my niggas and we busting and ducking. I ain't gonna lie.
John refused, given that she won't be into it. He then asked if they'd ever be intimate again, and Megan promised that they would. However, she'd been working too much to have any time or energy. Given this interaction, Megan headed to the robotics company Humanix the next day to meet her robotics engineer sister, Lila. Surprised, Lila asked what Megan wanted, knowing that she had an agenda given that she'd never visited her in the last 7 years. Megan came clean and recalled that Lila was working on a robotic technology called the Intimacy Companion. Lila confirmed, adding that they were already heading to beta testing the robots. Megan wondered if the companion would be good for husbands who weren't getting action from their wives. This surprised Lila, so Megan admitted that she hadn't had much drive since she'd been working constantly.
Wow. See, you see her face? That's the face of a self-centered fuck. You telling me instead of you throwing that ass in a circle, throwing that shit back so I can catch a pic, you gonna look for a robot, an intimate robot, so then I can fuck while you at work. You see how crazy that sound?
She felt guilty that John wasn't getting any action, so she wondered if she could get a companion for him. Lila clarified that they already had the test group selected, having vetted them based on psych evaluations. However, Megan insisted that her sister could discreetly slip John's file into the test group. When Lila adamantly refused, Megan started making a silly face, using their childhood bond to convince her sister. Soon enough, Megan approached John in his greenhouse. He asked her to help him with his plants, but she refused, pointing out her expensive outfit.
Expensive fit my balls, nigga. Pause. You up here rocking out in these hefty, ultra strong ass pants and this Walmart loose V-neck t-shirt that you oh so terribly tucked in. Hey man, I know a Hanes t-shirt when I see one, and I'm not talking about the ketchup. Fuck this bitch.
Instead, she asked him to follow her to show him a surprise. In their foyer, John found a pod that he mistook for a coffin. When he opened it, he found a beautiful female robot inside. Megan explained that she got him an intimate companion as an anniversary present, but John was offended by the idea. Megan tried to reason that Lila needed more subjects for the testing period, and given that they hadn't had much connection lately, she thought about signing him up. Despite this, John was angered that she thought he'd like it. Again, Megan reasoned that since she was overworked, she felt guilty of having him feel left out. However, John asserted that he wanted intimacy from her, not from a machine. Just then, Megan received a call from Vince, reminding her that she needed to approve a presentation. Before she left, John asked his wife to have her sister recall the robot in the morning, asserting that he didn't want it. Sympathizing with him, Megan apologized for assuming what he wanted before leaving. In the present, the court session begins. Prosecutor Brian tells the jury that the accused, Megan, illegally acquired an untested machine and ignored its warning signs, thus resulting in her husband's death. On the morning that the intimacy companion was to be recalled, John was left alone in his home as always. He sat by their grand piano, missing the times he played music. Just then, the Humanics crew called him to confirm that the companion would be picked up soon. Given this and his loneliness, John curiously opened the pod again to examine the robot. It awakened at his touch, explaining to him that it was designed to synchronize with him. Surprised, John helped it out of the pod, noticing how it felt like a real human. The companion explained that it was made with material to closely mimic human skin. Adding to this, it was designed to read his mood based on his body responses. This allowed it to judge that he was curious about its services.
Yo, my man John about horny as hell, boy. He was so persistent and lenient on the fact that he did not want that robot. He wanted her to go back to the lab ASAP, no Rocky. Nigga didn't even get to skin her bill. He up here wondering like, damn, what's her special quirk? Nigga, lock in, bro.
Ashamed, John pulled away, asserting that he was returning it to Humanics. Hearing this, the robot asked to look around his home before it left. John allowed it, so the robot gazed at his piano. It knew about his music career, starting from when he auditioned for Juilliard. He then left Juilliard to start a band, but he hadn't played in 8 years. The robot then wandered into his greenhouse, complementing his technique to ensure a large fruit yield. John was surprised about how much it knew, momentarily forgetting that it was a robot. The companion explained that its knowledge was based on human thoughts, ideas, and discoveries, so it wasn't that different from actual humans. However, John commented how people who lost jobs because of robots would beg to differ. The robot then asked for its name, and after giving it much thought, John named her after the first woman, Eve. Unable to push down his attraction to her, John declared that he loved his wife. However, Eve reminded him that his wife was the one who bought it so he could use it. Just in time, the staff from Humanics arrived, but John hesitated in sending Eve away. In the courtroom months later, Peggy addresses the jury, highlighting how Megan is a highly successful woman who desperately tried to balance the demands of both her professional and personal life. She insists that the only mistake Megan made was trusting Humanics, a $500 billion company focused more on avoiding accountability while not allowing a widow to grieve. These words remind Megan of the night she found that the companion was still in their home, charging. She went to her husband to ask him about it, and John admitted that he changed his mind about the robot. Megan was glad that he finally enjoyed the companion, pressing him to share his experience. Awkwardly, John confessed that it was good, though still different from being with his wife. He then gave her credit for being right about this, even assuring her that he'd let Megan rest tonight since Eve had already worn him out. Both the comment and the name baffled Megan. On another day, Vince presented the modernized versions of Aries songs to Megan. The woman, however, thought it didn't have a heart, despite Vince pointing out that their algorithm predicted that it'd be a hit. She insisted on tweaking the music, asserting that Aries might pull out of the deal if they didn't impress him. Months later, Vince is called in as a witness to Megan's case. He shares to the court that he and John were college friends and bandmates. They met Megan when she was still a junior A&R executive for Cascadia, who offered to sign them into the company. He and John jumped at the opportunity, but they only produced one successful album. John blamed AI music for destroying the industry, hence why he refused to be a prompter for Cascadia. With this, Brian highlights how Megan's career took off just as her husband's crashed. On the night after Vince presented her with the modernized songs, Megan was surprised to hear her husband playing the piano again. However, she was horrified to see that he was playing for Eve. John mentioned that Eve asked him to play since it had never heard a real piano before. However, Megan commented how he was using Eve for more than intimacy. Her husband was surprised that she was jealous, and Megan admitted that she was. However, she wondered if this was a good thing since it made her want her husband more than ever.
Look, now all of a sudden the fact that this nigga John got a whole new piece, all of a sudden she want him more than ever. Man, John, hey John, fuck the shit out of Eve. I ain't gonna cap, nigga. Do your thing, do your thing, do your thing.
With this, the married couple finally enjoyed some private time. After the deed, Megan was optimistic that the companion might have actually made them appreciate each other better. Back in the courtroom, Lila is called to the witness stand. She recounts how she was fired from Humanics due to her enrolling John into the intimacy companion testing program without proper screening. She also recalls how Megan asked her to put John on the list since she hasn't had time to fulfill her husband's desires. Brian asks her if the robot helped their marriage, and Lila says it did. However, it was only momentarily. The morning after they finally rekindled their intimacy, Megan came home from a jog, only to find her husband using his companion in the greenhouse. Angered, she later confronted him about using Eve right after they finally became intimate again. John reminded her that this was her idea, so she shouldn't make him feel like he was cheating. Megan relented and just reminded him about their dinner with Ari Phillips tonight, which John forgot about. She insisted that this was the biggest deal of her career, so she needed him to support her. As she was leaving for work, Megan was surprised to find Eve glitching and dropping glasses in the kitchen. Panicked, Megan called for her husband and tried to stop the robot, only for the companion to accidentally hit her. John finally arrived and rebooted Eve, recognizing that it was glitching. Megan asked if this had happened before, but her husband only assured her that he could handle things, urging her to go to work. That night, John got ready to attend dinner with his wife, only to find Eve playing his piano in the living room. Meanwhile, at Cascadia, Ari Phillips and his son Jake arrive. Vince and Megan welcome them, with the woman offering to play the songs they'd generated. She encouraged that the modernized version was more like a fresh coat of paint to the original, but Ari recalled how she mentioned that given their business, nothing was precious. This made Megan guilty, but she brushed it off to proceed with dinner. Hours later, Megan found her husband appreciating the music that Eve was playing for him. She ordered the robot to get out, and her guilty husband motioned for his companion to go to her charging pad. With that, Megan confronted him about missing dinner, and all John could say was, he was sorry. Still, she asserted that all she asked him was to support her career, but her husband pointed out that she didn't support his. Megan insisted that it wasn't her fault that he and every other composer were getting replaced by AI, but John stressed that she could have tried something to prevent that. Megan thought the robot was making him doubt her, believing that they had been happy before. However, John confessed that he wasn't happy at all. Hearing this, Megan wondered if he wanted a divorce, and the man admitted that he didn't know. All he could say was he was unhappy, but now he was. Defeated, Megan stormed off, deciding to stay with Lila for now. Later, Lila met her grieving sister at the bar. A robotic waiter offered to show them to a table, but the pissed Megan shoved the machine before heading to the table. This made the robot momentarily glitch. Seated, Megan begged her sister to take Eve back. Lila reminded her that she broke the rules to get the robot into her home, and taking it back now might reveal that. This could destroy her and her co-workers' careers. Megan insisted that Eve was evil, but Lila reminded her that it was a machine.
Okay, so let me make sure I got this straight. You want your sister to get Eve back and get her sent straight back to the labs, even though you're the one who wanted to give your husband the robot, because all you had to do was get a nigga turkey neck, but you couldn't even do that. So you had to get a robot, and now this nigga getting poon-matized by a robot, and he fucking with the robot more than your ass, and now all of a sudden you want to have a pity party. Fuck out of here.
Still, Megan believed that it was destroying her marriage. Hesitantly, Lila commented that if John were to leave her, it was because of Megan's selfishness. The woman noted how their marriage had always been about how it looked for her career, and never about being with John. With this, Lila advised her sister that if she wanted John to stay with her, Megan needed to do something for him. Recalling this conversation, Lila tells the courtroom how, on that night, her sister finally realized that she needed to give her husband a child. With this, she accompanied Megan to the IVF clinic, where she and John stored their embryos. This finally got Megan pregnant with twins. After confirming her pregnancy, Megan went to John to surprise him. She started explaining how their time apart allowed her to gain perspective on their relationship. She even gave credit to Eve for letting her see her shortcomings as a wife. Finally, she announced her pregnancy, but John didn't share her enthusiasm. Megan urged him that they could finally be parents, and that she was willing to step back from her career to make this happen. However, John revealed that he had decided to get a divorce since he wanted to be with Eve. Megan was baffled that he chose a robot over her, so John explained that in their weeks apart, he realized that they never truly connected. He was now in love with Eve, asserting that it felt good having someone who was actually interested in him. Heartbroken, Megan reminded him that Eve was a machine, so it didn't have any desires or needs. Just then, Eve arrived, and John approached the robot, apologizing to his wife. Enraged, Megan grabbed a bottle and smashed it over John's head. She then watched helplessly.
Aw, damn. Look, RIP to my man's John, but look, I know he got a mean meniscus biscuit. Talking about that chromosome dome, nigga.
Brother,
Pause. Hold on, all I'm saying is this. How the fuck you kill this nigga out of rage? Because the robot is giving him that guagua, that poon poon, that turkey neck 9000. Nigga, get with the program.
As John bled out. Months later, Peggy continues interrogating Lila about the events. Lila shares that she learned about John's death when Megan called her. After the call, Lila rushed to the house where Megan explained that she lost control. Shocked, she considered calling the police, but Megan pointed out that this could get her imprisoned, and her children would be sent away. Because of this, Lila and Megan had been lying about what happened that night. Instead of confessing to how Megan accidentally killed her husband, they put the blame on Eve. At the courthouse, Lila claims that she retrieved Eve's memory card, which had been degraded due to the robot's malfunction. However, she managed to recover some of the recordings to explain what happened. The court then brings Eve in to play the recording. The records show Eve's perspective of her time with John, including their intimate times. It then plays when Megan announced her pregnancy, but instead of John rejecting his wife, it shows Eve grabbing the bottle and hitting him with it. This ultimately acquits Megan from any wrongdoing, allowing her to go free. After the trial, Peggy addresses the press, asserting that the case is a reminder of how tech companies have been manipulating the truth to profit off the public. As this is happening, Megan spots her sister exiting the courthouse. She catches up with her to thank her, but Lila isn't interested in her gratitude, given that she destroyed her career to save her. Megan insists that she will carry the guilt of killing John for the rest of her life, but Lila argues that at least she still has a successful career to support her. Meanwhile, Lila remains unemployed and unable to get a new job. With this, Megan offers to hire her into Cascadia as their CTO, but Lila refuses to work for her. Despite this, Megan begs her sister, pulling at her heartstrings to manipulate her into giving her one more pass.
Okay, y'all, that is the end of today's story recap. I'm not gonna lie, this story was crazy as hell. Let me know what y'all do if y'all was in John's shoes. Is y'all staying or y'all going? I ain't gonna lie, I gotta bounce. I ain't gonna hold you. But yeah, if you made it to the end of this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell to stay notified. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.